All right, shalom, shalom.
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 All right, give us a second to check the feed. All right, we on there. All
Hmm.
right, shalom. Before
Shalom.
we get started with this lesson, we want to give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rachahakwadash. Double honor to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And peace and salutation to the elect that's out here laboring in all truth and sincerity. To you, we say shalom.
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 This is the brothers from Great Millstone, Charlotte, coming back with another Lord willing edifying lesson to feed the elect of the nation of Israel. And so, pretty much in this lesson, we're going to touch on just proof of how you Native American and Seminole Indian tribes are in fact the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. Okay, all right, because when you see the talk of the Israelites, you have a lot of these black only Israelites that refuse to accept the Northern Kingdom as being part of the tribes, man. All right, but
Hmm.
as Jeremiah, uh, y'all know that's that where it said, "My people are like a speckled bird." Somebody can grab that real quick.
This is Jeremiah chapter 12 and verse 9, and it says, "Mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about are against her. Come, yea, assemble all beasts of the field, come to devour."
Right. So we know that our people are going to come in all shades and colors, man. Okay. So you black only Israelites out here, you have to accept the fact, or you can't whatever. If you don't believe it, then that's on you. But at the end of the day, the Northern Kingdom, all right, they're part of the tribe too. The Native, Indigenous, and Latino tribes are Israelites. All right, and what we want to do in this lesson is go into some articles, pull up a couple artifacts, different things, just to kind of go into this because the kind of the inspiration behind this lesson. Me and the brother Yuwam and a few other the Akim from the Charlotte camp, we went to this jazz show last weekend at the camp, and pretty much the musician that was performing. As we're listening to the show, he had some visuals in the background, and pretty much, he had what looked like Native American, style, garments on from his tribe because the dude's name was like Chief Aduja or something like that, and he hails from New Orleans, and the part that he's from is a tribe called the Congo Nation, which when you look at the people, you can tell they have like a African slash Native American type heritage about themselves. But you could definitely see that those are Israelites, man, without a doubt.
Hmm.
If you want me, you want anything, y'all go ahead.
Khan. I just want to get a precept for you as well, just to add to your point, because you mentioned you brought out Jeremiah, right? Talking about speckled bird, but this is Hosea 7 and 8. It says Ephraim he hath mixed himself among the people. Ephraim is a cake not turned. And when you look at Ephraim, Ephraim consists is the head tribe of the northern kingdom,
Mm-hmm.
right? Pretty much what they call the 10 lost tribes, right? And that's what we're going into, right? Gad, Reuben, right? They're part of that. And when you read that, it says Ephraim is a. It says he had mixed himself among the people. So you're gonna have, really all Jake really now at this time, had mixed himself among every nation of the world in the world. So, you're gonna have Jake that looks lighter skin. You're gonna have Jake that looks dark skin, right? So all these, black only Israelites, you know, they're really bugging out because they're obviously not going according to the scriptures, right? But I also wanted to add, the point that you mentioned, how talking about Judah and Reuben or Judah and Gad mixing together, you always had that throughout history, especially during times of slavery. Jake would or Judah would run away and they'll seek shelter under the other tribes, right? But the point being is that they will intermarry, right?
Right.
In order for them to, uh, 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 well, pretty much to reproduce, of course, but to hide themselves or to escape that slavery.
That's right. Yeah, if you
I
want to
got
bring that article back up too, I had it in the background while y'all brothers talk.
had a point if I could.
You got it.
This is Numbers chapter 15 and verse 38. It says, speaking to the children of Israel, and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put upon the fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue. And what's spiritual about it is, how you mentioned, priest, pretty much the garments that they would wear. When we look at these, we see even tribes down in like Argentina, Chile, Asher, Ashar, all of them pretty much have the very colorful garments with the fringes, so it's showing you that they're essentially, they derive from the 12 tribes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you also have various customs. As the brothers bringing out a lot of these pictures, you have the Back Creek stone, you have the Decalogue stone. All these are what they call it, archaeological proof that the tribes were here in America, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have books like the Lost 12, the Lost 10 Tribes. You have various books of these so-called or these Edomites archaeologists, digging up artifacts and certain historical proofs that these indigenous people that were here in America are actually derived back to the 12 tribes, right? Certain beliefs that they had, certain writings, right? Yeah, that's another one. Origins of of American Indians, right? You have a lot of proof out here, but a lot of that is being hidden and suppressed, by Esau because he doesn't want the truth coming out. But we see it even through the scriptures. All you gotta really do is just look at the scriptures and try to correlate who fits his people, and it all comes back to the tribe. I mean, to uh, the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans,
That's
that are
right.
here in America. Just I mean, like I said, like you could look at the culture that Gad had or that Reuben had, right? Or even the others various tribes. A lot of them they dealt heavily with the corn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Made has certain, like you mentioned before the video, right? How Gad had that pretty much similar high holy day of what's it called?
Sabbath.
Uh, the Sabbath, right? The feast of first fruits,
Yep. Yep.
you know. But you also had, like the brother mentioned, the garments, right? The garments. You had uh, so like I was thinking about Issachar, how they made the tortillas and all that. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of similarities that all derive back to the ancient world over there in Israel.
I had a quick one since you said that.
Hmm.
This is Romans chapter 2, verse 14. It says, for when the Gentiles which have not the law do by nature the things contained in the law, these having not the law are a law unto themselves, right? And we know the Gentiles this is speaking about is Israelites that lost their way, all right, that lost their customs, man. So as you were speaking about, when you go into a lot of the northern kingdom, that have been scattered all throughout, America, the different islands or whatnot, they have customs that go back to the scriptures, like you made mention. A lot of when you can look up on Google, the Cherokee and the Jew, connection. All right, where Esau has done a lot of research, and Jake, to show that a lot of these Indian tribes are Israelites because, like you said, certain customs they were doing go back to the law. All right, the certain way they was moving go back to the law. Things such as having the fringes on their garments, man. How they communicated with each other, Slakia,
Hmm.
all remnant of the law to
Hmm.
show you that those are Israelites. They just don't know that they're Israelites. Even their chants, they have I forgot that movie that the elders apostles brought out years ago. But when you watch the movie, they're literally chanting the Most High's name. It's off just a little bit, but you can hear Yahweh in it, man.
Right.
Because when you look at so like, when you look at groups like or Jake's that pretty much Jake like the Tainos, Tawab Ain, which means good people. That's just broken Hebrew. And when you look at that,
Mhm.
when you look at the so-called Aztecs, all right, when you look at the so-called Mayans, all right, when you look at Jake, that Gad that was over here, they essentially just spoke a broken form of Hebrew, which essentially just goes back to our customs, like you was mentioning.
Mhm.
Hmm. And just to add as well, you also had, whenever uh, Israel got divided, right? Pretty much Northern Kingdom set up some Gadites to take position of the Levites, the priesthood,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. And you see that even whenever whenever Esau came over here, they would call some of them what do they call them, like holy men or something like that.
Mhm.
And it was pretty much Gads that were under the pretty much in the position of being a priest, you know,
Yeah.
knowing the righteous ways, right? That's why a lot of Gad they had their hair long. They were still keeping the Nazarite vow.
That's right. Con. One more. Romans 8:16. The Spirit itself bear witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. So, hey, you got like tribes out there, man. Hey, the subdivision amongst these tribes is crazy. We'd be here all day trying to go into all these different, Native American tribes, but nonetheless, you are all Israelites, man.
Right.
Cherokee, you know, whether you're Gad or Reuben, but it's all, you know, they all pretty much fall under the same umbrella. Because just like you have divisions amongst so-called black, so-called Mexican, so-called, whatever, they they all go back to the 12 tribes of Israel, man. Because when
Hmm.
you look at the hardships that we all faced, okay, we all are under the same curses, man. Going through Deuteronomy 28. Okay, they Northern Kingdom, even though it's not put out there like Southern Kingdom is showed on the news, but hey, you deal with baby mama trauma. Yeah, you
Hmm.
you deal with that evil eye towards your brother. Hell, hey,
Hmm.
just it Northern Kingdom and Native American gang violence. It's the same shit. You
Right.
know, y'all get hung just like it's all the same thing, man. So let's say the spirit bears witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. And see, it was through the division of the devil to where he put that divide in between, so-called blacks and Native and Indian tribes, man. But we're
Hmm.
all the same people when you get down to the history of the matter, man. All right, you was
Right.
on slave ships too, man.
Hmm. Yeah, that was all part of Esau's divide and conquer.
Exactly.
Hmm. Like you even had what they call them, the Buffalo Soldiers, right?
Yep.
That
Yep.
fought against Gad. You had Issachar that fought against Gad. It was always a division. Is always that in-house fighting. But as we know, Esau pretty much set the stage for this to happen, right? In
Mm-hmm.
order for him to conquer and have dominion as he has now.
Kind. Bros, had anything else before I started to the article?
Con. I
Okay.
Okay.
want to mention this point, just to land back. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 46. I'm starting from 45. It says, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and will take thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder upon thy seed forever. Now, pretty much just going into the fact that, the curses apply to, the nation as a whole, so the same things that, plague Judah are the same things that essentially plague Gad, so on and so forth, and all of the curses essentially apply to us as a nation as a whole.
Hmm. Right.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause one thing I wanted to make mention is what Priest just said, right? How all you tribes have went to slavery. All you tribes went on them boats. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got shipped around. You have the transatlantic slave trade, which consisted of Judah, but even before that, you had the Taínos. You had some Native Americans, some Issacharites. Pretty much all over, man. All the tribes went into slavery, man. All the tribes were put into boats and shipped here and there. That's why you have Jake's that man. Jake is all over the place. Pretty much the point, and they're all is from mainly is from slavery, man.
Right. Matter of fact, let me put this on the screen while you're talking, because this is what I want to put on here, and that's Spirit Taz. I want to put this on here. Hey, shalom, all you brothers on the comment board. Hey,
Shalom.
GMS planters of Yashawan, Virginia passed two acts in 1682 that combined Native Americans and Africans into one category as Negroes. Hey, that's the spirit. You know, we're gonna touch on that in a minute, but not to get off topic. I wanted to show this in the screen because what you said, Yeshaya. See, a lot of you so-called black only Israelites don't realize that the Northern Kingdom got put on boats too, man. You know, they was in chains too. And these pictures are hard to find now because, like we're saying at camp, Esau has been, you know, cleaning house, you know, with Google trying to keep, you know, certain things like this from being shown. Because you could, you read the scripture about, you know, the being in the yokes of iron, you native tribes y'all was in them shits too, man. You know, and you think that y'all was over here in America, okay? That doesn't mean like you wasn't on the boats though, because Esau came and got y'all first, man. You know, you had it was a saying. I'm probably about to butcher it, but you know, roughly saying that how they looked at Gadites as wolves, all right, and they looked at Judah as dogs because as a wolf, okay, Gad would rather starve to death and die than serve Esau, man. That's why Esau was burning them at the stake. But Judah, no matter how much they got beat, just like if you beat a dog's still gonna come back to you because they know that you gonna feed them. And that's how Judah was, man. Like Judah would get their ass beat, but then they wouldn't rebel against the you know, the Edomites as much as the Gadites would, man. You know. Y'all got it.
But yeah, you know, just adding to your point, right? Whenever Christopher Columbus came over here, right? He landed in Hispaniola, and there was what they call Tainos over there, right? And when you look at the history, you know, he took a lot of y'all so-called Puerto Ricans, so-called Cubans. You know, he took a lot of y'all, you know, as slaves.
Mm-hmm.
He took a lot of y'all. He shipped y'all over there to Spain, right? Gave y'all as gifts. I believe that's in the scriptures too.
Yes, Joel 3:3. So you grab that.
I'm gonna get it real quick. This is Joel 3 in verse 3. It says, and they have cast lots for my people and had given the boy for an harlot and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. Exactly. That's exactly what they did, right? Those auction blocks, right, where Judah was sold, you know. But it says, and given the boy for an harlot and sold a girl for wine that they might drink, right? You know, Esau had all that freaky shit, you know, having boys as their like playthings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, girls, all this shit that's happening right now with the whole underground shit, right? With the sex traffic, hey, that was going on back then too. But I want to get that point right where it talks about in Revelation 11. It talks about it. Revelation 11 and verse. Let me get it real quick. Verse 10, it says, and they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry and shall send gifts one to another. And who were the gifts?
Mm-hmm.
That was you tribes, man. Right? Like I mentioned, whenever Christopher Columbus came over here, he gifted a lot of y'all jakes into the hands of Queen Isabella, King Ferdinand, right? But it says because these two prophets tormented them that dwell on the earth, right? Because these crackers, man, they remember all the history of King David, the Dark Ages. They remember all that, man.
Right. And if I could add to you, because you have that bullshit ass theory that Esau likes to push, talking about how, you know, the Gadites came over here to the Americas through the Bering Strait, when that history is false. Because when you go into it, like I said, you Gadites, you Northern Kingdom, y'all were the first slaves. What Esau did when they came over here is they was taking you back over to the other side of the world during slavery. It's like you said, the Queen Isabella and everybody else, you got took back over. That's why there's a lot of Gadites over in Japan and different areas like that, because they'll try to say that the Chinese, that Gad comes from Chinese and all that. No, you just was brought over there for, you know, your time, and you know, some stayed here, some were brought back over there. But like I said, they weren't as easy slaves as, you know, Judah was, because they were fighting. Because the Gadite tribe, they were the warrior tribes, man. So they wasn't gonna lay down without a fight, man.
Right.
I
Right.
appreciate it.
Con.
You good?
No, you go ahead, bro.
Con, this is Deuteronomy 33 and 20. It says in Gad, he said, "Blessed be he that enlargeth Gad." Now, when it's talking about enlarging, it's talking about the land and the property that Gad acquired. When you look at what Gad had, Gad had from what is called the United States all the way up into what's known as Canada today. So that was how much land that Gad had. So it says Deuteronomy 33 and 20 says, "And of Gad he said, Blessed be he that enlargeth Gad; he dwelleth as a lion." And teareth the arm with the crown of the head. Now, when it says teareth the arm, it's talking about those different blood packs they will make with each other. And it says with
Mm-hmm.
the crown of the head, going into the point that priest had mentioned about the big war bonnets, those big chieftain type of bondage. Gad was a warrior tribe. They had that warrior spirit, and when you look at all this land that they had, essentially, it was taken. Going back to not Deuteronomy, Genesis, the 49th chapter, where it said, "Gad shall be overcome by a troop." Roughly paraphrasing, that was the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
cavalry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because to add to what you said, because really when you go into like the founding fathers, when you look at like Mount Rushmore, when the history of Mount Rushmore, those were originally Gadites. That was their land that Esau stole. Just like all of America was split up between multiple different Gadite tribes that Esau eventually conquered, took over, and forced the remaining tribes to pretty much go onto reservations because Esau was doing a mass genocide when he was taking control of America, man. All right,
Mm-hmm.
so like you were saying, Gad, this was his area. This was the North America was mainly Gad and Reuben. Southern South America that was more like Mexico and all that. That was Issachar. Some parts of the South was Issachar, man. Canada that was Gad. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Esau came and conquered all that, man. You know, so real quick, just to add to you, this Deuteronomy 19 and 14. Thou shalt not remove thy neighbor's landmark, which they of old time have set in thine heritage. Because when you go into the history, the Most High allowed us to come over here onto this land. When you read in the book of Second Ezra 13, which we're going to get in a minute, but we were gifted this land by the Most High when we left out of the Holy Land, man. All right, so the fact that Esau came over here and stole this land from the Gadites, all right, that shows you that these devils are, the ones that was prophesied about in Deuteronomy 28th chapter that was going to come from afar, whose tongue we did not understand, man.
Right.
When you read or when you watch that movie like Apocalypto, they show you that they came over here. That was the beginning of Esau beginning to take down the northern kingdom because, as we know, that was over here that was going off, man. These tribes, they were warring amongst each other. They was committing, idolatry, heavy idolatry, especially just dealing with the Gadites specifically. We know they had a god for everything. They worship literally the whole earth. They had
Mm-hmm.
all the animals, different animal gods. They had a wind god, a corn god, all type of different gods, man. They went off, man. So this is why the Most High allowed these Edomites to come over here and destroy them. I'm gonna finish it out. Deuteronomy 19 and 14. Thou shalt not remove thy neighbor's landmark, which they of old time have set in thine inheritance, which thou shalt inherit in the land that the Lord thy power giveth thee to possess it. So the fact that you Edomites came over here and stole the land that belonged to the Gadites and the Reubenites and certain others in the northern kingdom, hey, the Most High is gonna repay you for that, man.
Mm-hmm. Con. I want to. I was wondering if you could put that quote. I mean that what I Taza want to put on the comment board. This is Columbus
Genuine.
traveled to the Americas
Oh,
with Hebrew interpreters. So Esau knew what he was coming over here to find. It wasn't like he came over here, looking like the story they always put out there that he was coming over here to find another passage to India. That's all a lie, man.
yeah.
Even in that movie, was it 1492,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It mentions that, it mentions the book of Esdras. So, these crackers, they knew, man. They
Yeah.
understood, they had the maps. When you look at the history, what was going on during that time, you had a lot of kingdoms. Judah had a kingdom, or the Mali kingdom,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which was like the
Mm-hmm.
richest kingdom at that time. and they had maps over here, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so don't you think Esau knew what he was doing? Because right after he took down the last Moorish king over there in Spain, what did he do? They sent Christopher Columbus's ass over here to come and get the rest of you tribes, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Then
because he
after
knew.
that, yeah, he knew. And then after that, the Pope, that they had in place, I forgot his name, but he gave that papal bull to go and take down any what they call like pagan people from under, pretty much from the west of Africa all the way down. So just showing you
Yeah,
they were targeting you tribes, man.
yeah, that was the beginning of their Christian colonialism, man. You
Hmm.
know, because with
Conquest.
them going around, pretty much they call anybody pagan that didn't worship Jesus Christ, man. Which our people, they didn't know Jesus Christ. We knew the Messiah
Right.
because the as I'm gonna put on the screen right now, the Lord came over here, man. He already had made contact with our people, man. And the brother Kayan Napash, GMS Montreal, Canada, Shalom, brother. Like he,
Shalom.
he made mention the Vikings had maps over here as well, man. And we know the Vikings were Jake. They weren't no fucking white people, man.
Right.
That's more of Esau lives. But yeah, all right, America, hey, this land was inhabited already. King Solomon came over here, man. So this place was inhabited. So that whole notion of Christopher Columbus coming over here and discovering a new world, no, that's some bullshit, man.
Hmm.
He knew very well the Israelites was over here. Because when you watch that movie, you quoted 1492. He
Hmm.
tells you that his favorite book in the Bible was Second Esdras because
Right.
he understood that the 10 tribes are already over here, man.
Let me get
You
them.
know, go ahead up.
Okay. This is Second Ezra chapter 13 and verse 39. It says, "And whereas thou sawest that he gathered together another peaceable multitude unto him, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salamaster the king of Assyria led away captive."
Right, and the 10 tribes being the house of Israel, all right, the northern kingdom, man. Okay, so you so-called Indian tribes and you Latino tribes, that's what that's talking about. The majority of them came over here to the Americas because put a pause on that real quick. Get that in Second Kings 17,
Hmm.
and we're just gonna read verses 5 and 6 just to get the context of what your woman just brought out.
This is 2 Kings 17 and verse 5. It says, "Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
In the 9th year of Hosea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and
Mm-hmm.
carried Israel away into Assyria and placed them in Halah and in Habor by the river of Gozan and in the cities of the Medes."
Right, so King Salmanassar pretty much, had the Northern Kingdom in slavery. So fast forward a little bit in history, all right, the Northern Kingdom, coming from that, decided to come over here to the new side of the world, quote unquote, America, all right, whose name back then was Azareth, was going to say, all right, to come over here to try to keep the laws, and that separation of this history, which is not taught here. This is why you have that Bering Strait theory, because historians negate the scriptures to show you that the Gadites and the Northern Kingdom was already over here, man. So
Hmm.
the reason why you come from Second Kings, the Second Ezra 14 or 13, was because we came over to this land, all right, being guided by a chariot. So the Lord, just like how He did with the Israel during the Egyptian Exodus,
Hmm.
He allowed them to come over here, all right, for that purpose. But we understood that over a series of time that they eventually lost, the way as they began to worship these different idols, and eventually that's when Esau came, man. So just giving that rough estimate of history, but y'all got it.
Right.
Second Ezra 13 and 40, it says in the latter, it says, "Whom Salamaster the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so they came into another land. But they took this counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt, that they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land.
And that's why when you go into, like we read earlier in Romans, the 2nd chapter, Gad and Reuben, okay, and as well as the other northern kingdom, they have, different artifacts and things to show that they knew that they were Israelites, man. When they first came over here, they had the understanding that they knew who they were, man. This is why you have artifacts like you said earlier, the Back Creek stone, the Decalogue stone, the keystones, as well as other artifacts, man. So you can't dispute this evidence, man. And a lot of this isn't talked about because they don't want the connection to be made between the northern and the southern kingdom, man. They want to keep that divide, but as we know, according to Amos, 9 and 11, the Lord is closing the breaches up to where He's bringing the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom back together, man.
That's right.
You got it out.
God, finish the. I'm
go ahead, bro.
Go to verse 45.
Yeah, go ahead.
God, it says, 2nd Ezra 13 and 43. It says, and they enter into Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river, for the Most High then shewed signs for them, and they held still the flood till they were passed over.
All right. So like I said, they had safe passage over here to this land. They were guided by a chariot, man. All right. And when you do the research, Esau himself will tell you that. Like you have with Columbus. Columbus was got over here by a chariot. When you look up St. Elmo's fire, so this whole notion of the so-called UFOs being a new thing, no, these devils have been known about that, man. All right, the UFOs are all throughout world history, man.
Right.
Every time there's a major event in the world, Esau has figured out it's always been a chariot there, man, because the angels are the ones guiding everything as we see.
Right. Yeah, that's why you see a lot of old paintings, old icons. They'll always have like the chariots up top, on one of the paintings, and it'll show like somebody inside, like a little ball, just zooming past. So that just shows you they've been knowing about the chariots.
That's right.
It's just a new thing of calling them UFOs, unidentified flying objects. They know.
Yeah. And the reason it's quote unquote a new thing now is because Esau has dumbed the people down so much to where, spirituality is repressed here, man. All right. So when it comes to things that go beyond human reasoning, is looked at as with a question mark that can this really be real? But yeah, the chariots are a known thing that's written all throughout the Bible and is well known throughout world history. You can't dispute that. So going off of what the brother Yawam just read, it shows you that the chariot, it helped guide the northern kingdom over here to Azareth, man, America. You got it.
God says, for through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Arsaret.
Yeah, if you want to speak on that, you can, bro.
God, and pretty much when it says Arsaret, the Arsa part is going into Aratazah, which means land or earth or land, and then the Reth part goes into Acharat, which is another land, pretty much talking about the Americas, because the Northern Kingdom was dwelling over here, you see, but before that time, pretty much that was a time period to where mankind didn't really dwell on this side. They was dwelling in the Eastern Hemisphere, but pretty much it's talking about another land.
Yeah, because like I said, this America was, when you look at the route that King Solomon, he had, those sailors pretty much come over here for. I forgot the scripture actually in the I know it's in King. I just don't remember exactly where it's at in there, but he had a trade route where they were bringing, artifacts and different things from America back over to the land of Israel. So America, the land over here was well known. It wasn't heavily populated at that time because it wasn't meant to be yet.
Right.
But like I said, the tribes they knew as far as the Messiah, but they didn't know Jesus because Jesus wasn't a known thing at that point until the Edomites came over here. But Yahushua did come over here and sup with the Northern Kingdom, man. You know,
Mhm.
you got some more?
Nah, that was it.
I got something.
You know where it's at, right? The one in
Yeah.
King.
Khan.
If y'all got it, you
No,
can go ahead and bring it out.
Khan. You know, because when you look at the map, right, the map of the world didn't look like how it looks like now. Everything was oriented with the east on top.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at it that way, the closest route to head over here to the Americas would be around and under Africa, right? So they had to go through the Horn of Africa, go all the way down south, and then come up, right, and then then they'll arrive over here, right? When you look at the map. But I got this right here, right? First Kings. This is the route that they took. First Kings 10:21. It says, "And all King Solomon's drinking vessels were of gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. No, none were of silver. It was nothing Salakia. It was nothing accounted of in the days of Solomon. For the king had a navy, Salakia. For the king had at sea a navy of Tarshish with the navy of Hiram. Once in 3 years came the navy of Tarshish, right? So once in every 3 years it would return. So that means a year and a half it will take them to reach over there, stock up with supplies, and another year and a half for it to return.
Mm-hmm.
It says bringing gold, silver, ivory, and apes and peacocks. You see. So don't you think Esau read this exact same thing and heard of the gold and all that stuff and wanted to come over here, seeing that they were coming to the time where they were rising up. So, like again, Esau knew what he was coming over here to find, man. He knew he would find the tribes. He knew he would find a lot of gold, a lot of wealth,
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, to add to what you was bringing out, because you have some people over here that try to say, that the Africans was here because you see these statues, the Olmec statues or whatnot. The Hamites was working with King Solomon. All right,
Right.
they were servants unto him. So, that's why you have those Olmec statues in certain parts of America. But this wasn't their land. Like I said, nobody really lived in this land up until the Northern Kingdom fully came over here, man.
Right.
But
Yeah, I believe those Olmec heads were like markers as to where they were at, or you know what I'm saying, where they had landed at.
See, so yeah, so I want to play this real quick, and we'll go into another direction.
And few Dene people know these things, and the argument is always, well, the white people brought us Christianity. It is not. Well, they brought it later, but we as Native Americans and my people as the Dene people, they walked and talked with Christ long before the pilgrims came. They knew him, and he walked around among them. When you think about the drawing that these men have, and then think about what my grandfather and the 12 men spoke about, and my grandfather said that they built a ship and they came across the great waters, and it was tumultuous, and they came here to this land. They were in the east, and there was eventually millions and millions of Native Americans.
And that makes you think about, how did all these Northern Kingdom tribes have these different names for the Messiah if they never knew him?
Right.
Esau tells you that the Northern Kingdom tribes was uncivilized, that they had to come over here and pretty much save them because they were savages or whatnot. But we had already been established. We already had a religious system established and everything. So just to show you that Esau's a liar, man. Our people had been well acquainted with how the scriptures were set up, because like I said, number one, we Israelites, so our history was passed down. Like I said, over the process of time, it got diluted, but they understood that a Messiah was going to come back eventually. This is why you had, like, for I forget the tribe, but pretty much like I said, when you would hear them chant, you would hear Yahweh, Yahweh. You know, it might be a little different, but even on certain movies, you literally I heard a movie, I heard a scene in a movie that you actually heard the name Yahweh in, and you're starting to see now where a lot of these northern kingdoms are waking up, and they're telling you, we heard the name Yahweh, growing up from our ancestors, man. Yahweh Shai, man. So the spirit is putting Israel back on our feet, man.
Yeah, and I wanted to add, one thing that she said that the waters they were carrying was tumultuous. That's even written in what the brother Yuan read out or just read.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He held still the flood.
Mm-hmm.
He said that they or the Yahweh Shah pretty much walked among them. Right?
Yeah.
The brother brought that precept, John 10. Was it 16? Right?
Yeah. Let's get there real quick. But finish the point. I'll read it.
Con. So hey, they knew, man. Like those are true accounts, right? That correlates with scripture. You know what I'm saying? So all these lies that Esau has been able to promote, throughout our people and pushing it on our people, you know what I'm saying? That's pretty much what put that divide in our minds to making us believe that we're not, like it says in Hosea, in the land where they were called not my people, there should be called the children of the Most High, right? And that's a fulfillment of that right now as we live in.
Yeah, because Jeremiah 17:4 had to come into play, right? We had to fall away from our heritage, so the Lord is bringing back the elect out of the tribes, man, to come back into the remembrance of who we are, man. This is why we're out here doing these videos to wake up the elect of our people, man. Because it's still, and northern kingdoms, man, you got to wake up, man. As we're seeing that, beginning to be more of an uptick within these recent years, all right, because the main ones been carrying the torch is the southern kingdom, Judah, because we know that's the head tribe. But hey, y'all got to do y'all part as well, man. Y'all got to wake up as well. Y'all got to come out here and teach the word as well, man. We want to see more, native tribes, Latino tribes coming out and preaching the word, man.
Right.
But this is that John 10. I'm gonna start at verse 14. The points in 16. It says, "I am the good shepherd, and know my sheep, and am known of mine. As the Father knoweth me, even so I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep." And mind you, this is written in red, so this is Yahweh Shai himself speaking. "And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold. Them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd." Because you got to remember, in this time, all right, when Yahweh Shai was on the scene, the northern kingdom was already split. They was already over here in the Americas, man. So when he was making this statement, he was letting it be known that, look, the other which are not of this fold, those are the other Israelites on the other side of the world. And so after he was risen up, he went and visited them, man. And that's what you heard, that Gadite woman, speaking of, because they have records to show that their ancestors, they walked with Yahweh Shai, man, when he came over here, man.
Right. You also, if I may add to your point, you have, a lot of these tribes who have accounts of that. That you have Issachar, the Aztecs, you have Ephraim, the Mayans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure all the other tribes have it. Like she was mentioning, I don't know about Gad, but she was just talking about it right there. How their forefathers have accounts of how they walk with Yahweh Shah, right? So all these things, is just showing, like the brother brought out at the beginning of the lesson, right? The spirit, bears witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High, man. It correlates. It fits in properly. It fits in perfectly, man.
You want me to add anything?
Live.
All right, so touching this article real quick. So this is off of I don't know how you say this, AISH.com, Native Americans and the Jews. So it says, whether or not Native Americans are one of the lost tribes of Israel, the strange parallels between them and the Jews are intriguing. In his book, Mekvet Israel, written in 1650, the scholar Menashe ben Israel suggested a brand of South and Central American Indians were a remnant of Jews sent to exile by King Assyria and from the 10 lost tribes. And then we just read that in 2nd Esdras, 13. his theory did not gain popularity among the rabbis of his time because Esau doesn't want that truth being talked about. So of course they're going to suppress it and then put that doubt on it as well. But we know that that's actual history. It says the notion was revived when James Adair, an Irish trader who lived among the Indians for over 4 years, wrote in his book, The History of the American Indians, published in 1775, from the most accurate observations I could make in the long time I traded among the Indians of America, I was forced to believe them lineally descended from the tribes of Israel. Adair recorded a number of parallels in cultural practices between the Jews and the Indians. Some examples include their division into tribes, their appointment of holy priests, their manner of counting the months through the lunar year, their festivals, some which he claimed corresponded with the Jewish calendar, their feasts, their fast and religious rites, which they believe help cleanse them of their sins, their laws of cleanliness and marital separation during a women's menstrual period, their ritual purification after touching the dead, their sites of refuge, their manner of burial of and mourning of the dead, and their perpetuating the name of a deceased brother through remarriage of his wife. So all these different things is what we read about in Romans, the 2nd chapter, to where a lot of these tribes now in today's time may not understand why they do what they do, but when you get to understanding, you see that these things go back to our customs, man, our law, statute, commandments. We have a certain way of how we lived that commemorated our power, man. So, these Gadite tribes, man, they don't fully understand why they do it, but we're telling you the reason why you do these things because you are Israelites, man.
Right. Yeah, the parallels are too close to ignore.
Exactly.
Like it definitely ain't, that list that Esau came out with. You know what I'm saying?
Nah.
Like how the hell does that correlate, with what we just read?
Con.
Like historically, it doesn't match. It doesn't fit. You know what I'm saying? So that just shows you, man. Hey, the tribes have to be out here somewhere, right?
Exactly.
And who's the best match?
Make it make sense, man. Hey, the scriptures through prophecy detail that. Like your one quoted earlier that Genesis 49:19, it says God is a troop. Matter of fact, get that real quick because you broke it down, but just to get that, just for edification's sake.
Con, did we ever get Romans 8 as well?
I quoted it, but if you want to get that too, that's fine.
I'm gonna get both of them. This is Bara'ash, Genesis chapter 49 and verse 19. It says, Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. Now, talking about that troop, that was the U.S. cavalry that essentially overcame Gad, and took all of Gad's lands. You see, and this prophecy specifically fit Gad. You see, but what Gad will be known as, today will be so-called Native Americans. Now, I want to get this right here. This is Romans chapter 8 and verse 16. It says, the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. And that's just to land back on bro's point, because the Spirit, going back to the scriptures, you see, but the scriptures essentially details and personifies, the things that happen to the tribes. You see, whether it be, Judah, whether it be, Issachar, whether it be Gad, or everything in the scriptures essentially details, the children of Yasha'Allah, Israel, as the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans.
Right, because when you read Genesis, the 49th chapter, those were prophetic, things that we will be able to correlate in today's time to determine where the tribes are, man. All right, so when the Spirit, came upon, Elder Ariyah to begin to break down where the tribes were at in the world today, man. All right, that was the Spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah beginning, to wake up the house of Israel, the elect of the house of Israel, man. All right, and through Esau, his skepticism and his his doubt, they try to downplay that because like you hear vocab say, that's not you can't canonically prove that. But look, as the brother just read Romans 8 and 16, man, the Spirit beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of Israel, man. it makes sense if you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, you know. And if you can't get it, then hey, the Lord's not dealing with you. But it's the parallels, it aligns too much for it not to be true, man.
Right.
You know?
I just wanted to make a point because, like I said, if it ain't us, then who else could it be?
Exactly.
You know, who else is out here, you know, waking up? You know what I mean? Who else is out here prophesying? Right? The Jakes back then, you know, that were in Jerusalem at that time when Yahweh Shah was around, you know, as we read in what was it? John 10, right?
Mhm.
As we read in John 10 and 16, right? They knew who they were they knew who Yahweh they knew who Yahweh Shah was talking about. They understood that those people in Samaria at that time were not the original Israelites.
Right.
Right? They understood that Israel was taken captive, or the northern kingdom was taken captive, and eventually they left to another land. So they knew about this, man. Right? It's only now that, you know, that whole mystery, you know, is being revealed, because again we lost this information, but now we're coming back to that remembrance. But through the Spirit is how we're going to be able to identify who we are.
Right. Because through much, you know, trickery, you know, falsified documents or whatnot, Esau has been able to hide this truth, you know, from our people. Because, like, for an example, you know, a lot of you so-called black people, y'all not actually Judah. You know, you got a lot of Jake that think, okay, they wake up to the truth. I'm Judah, I'm black, okay. But a lot of you, you know, could be, you know, Reuben and Gad, man. You know, because as we were talking about before we cut the camera on, you know, hey, when Judah was brought over here in slavery, and you had a lot of them, you know, rebelling and fleeing. A lot of them, they fled into, you know, Gad and Reubenite territories, and they took them in. All right, some of them got put in slavery on them, but you know, others they took them in and they, you know, protected them, man. But either way, you know, they were able to, you know, intermingle because we understood we're the same people. Because like Tazwan I put on here earlier, Columbus traveled to America with Hebrew interpreters because he already understood that we were the same people. So when they saw the connection that Judah had with the northern tribes, it's like he wouldn't let them intermingle like that because he feared a insurrection would come up, man. All right, so that's when they tried to flee and go into these different, you know, territories where Gad was. They found safe haven because they understood, okay, you speak Hebrew, I speak Hebrew. Hey, we got to be the same people. You know, that tribal connection kicked in, man. You know,
right? Yeah. The problem now is that Jake suffers from colorism.
Yeah.
You know, Jake is in his mindset that everybody has to be looking the same. But we just read, you know, Israel is like a speckled bird. We read Ephraim is a cake unturned.
Yeah.
Right. So that just shows you, you know, and even throughout the scriptures, you know, it talks about how we will be scattered throughout the earth. You know, Jake don't go throughout the earth and not look at the other nations' women, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Jake goes after everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Jake like women.
Jake
We
like
like
women,
women.
man.
All the nations, man. You
Right.
know, hey, Jake is, hey, we the kings of the earth, man. You know,
We seen that with we seen that, you know, like when in like Vietnam and Korea and stuff like that, you had Jakes that would, you know, stay over there and essentially make families and stuff like that. So
right.
Jake get around and repopulate the earth, you know.
It's in our nature. The scriptures told us the first law that man was given was to be fruitful and multiply, bro. And that's hey, when Jake is oppressed, what we do? We want that sex, man. You know, hey, Jake, that sex is a stress reliever, man. And so that's why when you read in Exodus, the first chapter, it's like, yo, the more hell they put on us, man, the more we grew.
Right.
That's why Esau had to go and, you know, put that division amongst the men and the women, all right, to put us even more in hell. Because if Jake, we always said if Jake was able to have their women in order in America now, bro, we'd be in the kingdom, bro. But I wanted to bring this out, you know, through the Spirit, because like I said, a lot of you so-called blacks that think you're tribe of Judah, you actually gather Reubenites, man. Because when you have you can expound on the more the whole thing with the $5 Indian.
You about to go through this one?
I mean, if you got something else, you go ahead.
I wanted to read this off the Wikipedia. It says the Dawes Rolls, which this article is going to go into it. It says the Dawes Rolls, or final rolls of citizens and freedmen of the 5 civilized tribes of the Dawes Commission of the final rolls. I'm going to skip down. It says traditionally, the land in these tribal communities have been held communally. With the establishment of the Dawes Commission, the ruling was made by the colonial agents to divide the land into parcels and institute a system of individual ownership in accordance with the U.S. laws, overriding the treaty and tribal laws of the region to allot the communal lands to citizens of the 5 tribes. So pretty much, Jake was supposed to get some type of land. So it says to allot
and a check.
Huh?
The land and a check.
Right.
If you can prove that you're a full-blooded Native American, then the government owes you a check.
Mm-hmm. So it says 5 tribes, says Cherokee, Chickasaw, Choctaw, Creek, and Seminole, which that would be Reuben. And it says were to be enumerated and registered by the U.S. government. These counts also included the freedmen formerly enslaved so-called African Americans. Now, when they say freedmen, a lot of them was Reuben as well, because that's a major reason why Esau had so much problems, down in Florida, with Reuben. That was a major issue because Reuben had some type of land down there. They had civilizations like Rosewood, so that really gave Esau a problem. And that's a predominant reason, as we're going to read, why Esau wanted those lands, and then also he didn't want Jake getting any type of leeway or any type of freedom and property in those areas.
Right. That pretty much conflicted with their manifest destiny.
Mm-hmm.
You got it, bro.
Continuing on, it says these counts also included the freedmen formerly enslaved so-called African Americans who had been emancipated after the American Civil War and their descendants. The rolls were used to assign allotments to the head of the household to provide an equitable division of all monies obtained from sales of surplus lands, because those lands really belong to Gad and Reuben. So it says these rolls became known as the Dawes Rolls. When word got out that people could get land, many non-natives appeared at the offices and falsely claimed to be native. That was Esau. Most of these false claimants claimed to be Cherokee. Family myths still persist of hiding in the hills or being rejected from the rolls or refusing to enroll, when the reason for not having been enrolled is that the applicants were simply not Native American. Now, those that was Jake that was going to enroll in that, Esau was just turning them away. And some of those myths was true, but the ones that was Esau, they just went and paid their $5. That's what that term that we got that was on the screen that said $5 Indian. They pretty much would just pay $5 and they would get their name written on a registry. And that's essentially how Esau, was able to snake and finagle his way up into the system to get the different benefits. Because some of those benefits Esau still used to this day,
Right. The casinos, mainly the casinos.
Yeah, because you go to these reservations and it's like, okay, the Indian reservation, you think Gad and Reuben own that? Hell no. Them eat the ones that's running the casino, that own it, that get the majority of the profit. Those are Edomites, man. Gad just has the name on it. But the ones that own that shit, those are Edomites, man. All right. But I wanted to add to you, because another way that Esau was able to pretty much, malign Gad as well, is how they pretty much would whitewash them, to where you would pretty much strip them of their culture and pretty much turn them into quote unquote Edomites, man. Let's say kill the Indian, save the man.
Right.
So they would strip the young ones, which is the curses. They would strip the young from the old, and then send the young to boarding schools, man. And so in the boarding school, they would make them cut their hair. They wouldn't allow them to speak their native language. And so they would pretty much overall just change them up to where by the time they came back to their families, they were completely unrecognizable, and that they would cut off their heritage, man. So you know the kingdom. All right, you had your own version of roots as well, man. You had your Kunta Kinte moment, man.
Right.
So like, it was a little bit more inside that article. Did you want to touch on that, or I could read this?
Oh no, I put it back on screen. You good?
Okay.
I want to bring that point out. The Wikipedia page.
Con.
Kanye, you got it.
I'm gonna skip down. We was at the part where it said enumeration and enrollment. I'm gonna skip down past to this point where it says it says Gregory Smithers.
Okay, I got you. Go ahead.
You see, okay. It says Gregory Smithers. It says associate professor of history at Virginia Commonwealth University stated these were opportunistic white men who wanted access to land or food rations. These were people who were more than happy to exploit the Dawes Commission, and government agents for $5 were willing to turn a blind eye to the graft and corruption. So that was pretty much the point that I wanted to get to. Just provide further edification on how Esau, deceived his way onto those onto the commission for the Dawes rolls.
Mm-hmm. So, like I said, man, they pretty much snuck their way into it, and then, like I said, they try to block Gad from getting that citizenship money. They would make Gad classify themselves as black, because, like, for example, you have the Yuchi Indians of Georgia. Hey, they make them classify as African Americans, man. So Esau Edom, it uses this paperwork, this trickery with Psalms, Isaiah 10:1, plays into that to pretty much, further bring confusion, but also to disenfranchise and Jake and put him, in the category to receive more benefits, man. So it's just, the trickery that this devil is operating with. It just shows you why he has to come out of power, man.
Mm-hmm. Con. I also got this article, if I may pull it up.
You got it.
I'm gonna share it on my screen because you mentioned, how a lot of these Jakes, right? A lot of these so-called black, the category, or they classify themselves as so-called black, but really they be going back to Gad Reuben.
Mm-hmm.
But it says finding intersections between African Americans and indigenous American Indians, and it gives a little intro. But down here, it shows a picture, right? It shows Gad right here, a Gad husband, and then a Judite wife, and look at the children, you see. But down here it says a Stafford family portrait. Caledonia Center was a descendant of the Roberts settlement, one of the first free people of color settlements in Indiana, established in 1835, which was a mixed race bi and triracial community, which really is all one race, but Esau has to put that division there. But it says, in my memoir, I explore how family's story represents the saga of mixed race narratives of Black people and Native Americans, which in North America began in the Southeast, as we're going into, right? Florida and all that whole region up to Georgia, right? But it says, began in the southeast of this country, the Carolinas and Virginia colonies, right? So even up here too. It says one of the earliest intersections of the first enslaved Africans of the Jamestown, Virginia, and Richmond areas, all Powhatan Nation, Nottoway, Cherowinhaka, Nottoway. Are you gonna say something, Mike?
They call it Powhatan and Nottoway.
Okay, con. It also mentions Nansemond lands. It says indigenous Indians occurred when they came together as workers on cotton and tobacco plantations, as farmers, hunters, tradesmiths, and eventually as family and freedom fighters like the Black Indian Seminole John Horse, liberating the people from servitude. It continues on. It says another under-researched through tragic moment, African Americans and American Indians coming together in the 1820s and 1860s was when the 5 civilized tribes, as the brothers went into, right? You had, it mentions it right here. This is the Cherokee, the Creek, Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Seminole. It says owned Black slaves in the early 1800s when they were forced to adopt white ways. supposedly to make whites feel safer around them, showing that they'd assimilated. You see, but the point being is that a lot of them were intermarried and created families like this, to where down the line, Jake will grow up and end up, classifying themselves as being black, but really, they be Gad or Reuben, you know what I'm saying, and not knowing it through, process of time.
Right, and it's even with the on the other side of the spectrum with Esau, intermingling amongst the tribes as well. You have a lot of what look like Edomites, but actually Gadites, Reubenites or whatever, but they look like Edomites, or vice versa. You got the tares amongst them, So this is why at the end of the day, the spirit is what beareth witness, man. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
if you're able to receive this truth, then you're an Israelite, man.
Right. Con.
Could you send that in the chat, Yeshai, the article you just went to?
Con, I'll send it.
I wanted to get this precept too. This is Numbers chapter 1 and verse 20. It says, "And the children of Reuben, Israel's eldest son, by their generations after their families, by the house of their fathers, according to the number of their names, by their polls, every male from 20 years old and upward, all that were able to go forth to war." And pretty much is providing edification on because Esau say like mixed race or this or that, when really it goes to the like your father, who your father is, or your forefathers.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And another thing I wanted to add on here too, I remember multiple Northern Kingdom tribes had this similar in their history, where they had the Shema prayer. So like dealing with the similar Indians, for example, this is an excerpt from the book Lost Tribe in the Promised Land by Ronald Sanders. It said that in this part right here that's highlighted, upon hearing her words, they rose and went over to Montezinos, and to his utter astonishment said, Shemi Yisrael Yahweh Allahuna Yahweh Ehod, which is Shema Yasharallah Allahayna Yahweh Achad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our power, the Lord is one. The Deuteronomy, I believe 6:4, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
They had recited in Hebrew the fundamental credo of Judaism, because when we go back to that first article, and it said how the Northern Kingdom, James Adair had pretty much claimed that the Jews and Indians had similar languages and dialects. It was broken Hebrew, like your mom said earlier. So this just further edification to prove to you that the tribes are indeed Israelites, man. You can't refute this evidence. It's too much. There's way too much evidence for you black only niggas to still be claiming the Northern Kingdom ain't Israelites, man.
Right. God. That's pretty much it. That's all I had.
Yeah, same here. So, you want me anything else?
Shit, yeah. Let me get this. This is Barashith, Genesis chapter 11 and verse 1. It says, "And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech." Pretty much going into Halashwan Kwadash, the holy tongue. When we see the different tribes and over the process of time, essentially, again, it was a broken form of Hebrew, but again, we just through through the Spirit, we can see that it is a broken form of Hebrew, and that was Jake in those respective areas, i.e., the so-called Taino Indians, the Navajo, Gad, over here in their respective tribe names and stuff like that, Reuben, Issachar, we still see the traces of the language, just in Jake's history. Just illustrating the part that we are the people of the Lord.
Yeah, I got different things just to add to the conversation. I'm not gonna really read it, but y'all can see it in the screen. So it's irrefutable, man. Like I said, dealing with, I've never really heard of this tribe, but
Algonquin.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with them, but even like I said, it's so many tribes amongst Gadaroon, bro. We'll be here all day trying to go through all this, but like I said, they keep saying they got Hebraic elements in the Indian language and customs, man. So they can't deny that we have biblical influence within our customs, our history, man, because we are those people. So you can't deny that. And like I said, any Jake that's still in that manner of thinking that, then the Lord just not dealing with you, man.
Right.
You know? But yeah, brother, you have anything else?
Wow.
La.
All right, so Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. You know, we just went through the spirit. Just want to speak on that. You know, Lord willing, this was edifying. So with that, we're gonna close it out by giving all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Hakodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. Peace and salutation to the elect. Until next time, we say Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.